Hello, hello, everyone.
Hey,
So I hope I started to send, when I sent the messages out and I said maybe I should have, made everyone aware that the class is on Zoom tonight. But I'll remember for next time.
I hope nobody's in the classroom.
I hope so. I hope not too. So how is everyone doing?
Well, good. It's almost spring break.
Yes. And we do have that week
That's
on
right.
break. So that's what next week, huh?
That's
Yeah,
right.
next week we don't have a session. So forgive
Excuse me.
me. Yes,
It says Carolyn is having trouble hearing.
she's
It was
hearing.
in the chat.
Okay. Let me see. Yeah, it's like okay, I see her chat. It doesn't come up on my screen automatically.
Oh, okay.
But let me see. Come on. Um, Let me see. Carolyn, can you hear us? If you can hear us, no, she can't hear us. That's what it is. Because I don't see. She's going back out and she's coming back in. Because I see that I don't see any audio. Like I can't unmute her mic or mute it, so that means she's not on audio. So how is everyone doing with this time change? This time change has really affected me this year like never before. And not only me, others are saying the same thing. They like, usually by, Monday, Tuesday, they're okay.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday and people are still struggling.
I like having more daylight though, in the afternoon.
Yeah, I like it as well. There we go. Miss Carolyn.
Okay, I was on mute, but yes, I can hear it now.
Okay. All right. Great, great, great. Sometimes we miss that prompt and it'll mess up everything. So I was just saying, how has everyone been? How is your week? I know I sent a few messages out through Remind Me to everyone. I don't want it to be overbearing, but when something hits me, I like to send it out. To encourage you, say keep on going, um, keep moving forward, because that's what it takes. If you're gonna be in business, so we want to, and we need that encouragement because trust you, believe you me, I remember on the nonprofit side getting that started and going after funding. There were many tearful days um, that I experienced. So I know how it is when you're starting out. Um, I had some well-known people in our community who, just didn't believe it could be done. And I knew it could be done. And we're here, 20 years later, and they're like, you did it. so so I know what the challenges are. I know the loneliness of it is when you're getting started, because you'll have a vision and you'll have a plan, and sometimes it seems like others can't see what you see. And that's the part of being a visionary, or others think, you know that's not realistic. Things, I tell people all the time, look at Walt Disney. People didn't believe, um and he actually went bankrupt 3 times before, the
Wow.
whole Disney came up, you know as we know it today. And people didn't believe in what he was doing, and look at it now, a global corporation, and just eating up and going forward, eating up everything, television stations, radio stations, you name it.
Mhm.
They buying whole islands and all of
Really?
that.
Ooh, man.
So, they are really expanding and moving forward.
Mhm.
They have their brand. Um, and a lot of people don't know this, but Disney has their own executive training program that
Wow.
they offer, that you can go out to Disney World in Florida and participate in for a fee, of course. It's not free. um, and they teach you the Disney way, their model for success. And their model for serving people, the whole gamut. So they're not shy about letting people know how they do it.
Mhm.
I tell people, Disney World is one of my favorite places to visit, and I usually stay on property. And I tell them all the time, I said, they make it so you're truly on vacation. You don't want for anything. They have thought of every last single thing that you may need, that you may want, even stuff you don't know you want. They
That's right.
they introduce it to you. And so I tell people that's why I love it. I say, because when I go there, I feel like I'm away. Um, if you want to be in the Caribbean, they have a place for that, to
Mhm.
make you feel like you're in the Caribbean. If you want to be in New Orleans, they have a place for that. If you want to be in upstate New York, Key West, all of the places, they will make you feel like you're in that country, or that state, or that place. And that's why I love it. And sometimes I go there just to chill and relax. I don't even go to the theme parks. And even when my children come with me, they want to go to the theme parks, and they drag me along with them. So,
Mhm.
so I just mainly go to see their experience. But, he had a dream, and his dream is a reality for generations to come. And I really admire his daughter, which his granddaughter,
Mhm.
um, and who is the heiress to the Disney empire. And she is very socially proactive. She doesn't believe that they should get a tax break,
Mhm.
um, which was offered, that they should pay taxes to help support programming and things in the country for people. And that's smart, because the more resources people have to spend, guess what? Circulation happens. So you got to think, from their perspective, they want visitors to come. Well, if you have people who are not um, getting educated, if you have people who are not earning the incomes because of the lack of social programs and social, even community college, even educational institutions, they know at some point their well is going to run dry, because it costs money to go to Disney. Disney not in the business of providing free experience for the whole world. So it's very small, but then also it's passionate, it's from her heart. So we're gonna go ahead on and get started. Um, Ken and Nina, let me see if I can message them.
I spoke with Ken. Well, not spoke with him, but I heard from him earlier this week, and he was missing his other classes, my class, because he has been ill and was
Oh,
on
okay.
doctor bed rest.
Oh, okay. All righty. Thank you for letting us know. And we'll go ahead on and get started because we got quite a bit of information to cover. Okay, can everybody just acknowledge for me that they agree to be recorded?
I agree to be recorded.
I agree to be recorded.
I agree to be recorded.
All righty. So we're in week 3. So let's start off by recapping our weeks. Our week, rather, the week in words. Can everyone please share something positive or some good news with the class that you received this week? Or something good that happened that you're willing to share?
I'll share first. I'll say with the information that I have received from this class, it has helped me and my other business partners get a better handling on mission statements, visions, more of a concise vision statements and everything else, which is what we needed, which we needed to, because we all have talked about what we have in common, but as far as with this business and having a foundation, I was able to work with my partners on some of those points, and that really helped.
Okay. Great, great, great.
Me myself, I actually just booked the summer travel to Nigeria. So
Ah,
I'm gonna be going in May.
can I get in the suitcase?
Sure thing, sure thing.
So are you going home? Is that home for you?
Yes.
So I know you're happy. So how long are you going to be staying?
Probably 3 weeks.
Okay.
Mm.
I know you just don't go to Nigeria for a week.
No, not at all. Expensive for that.
So Miss Carolyn, you the
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I've incorporated that the positive statements. So in my classroom, I having my students to write 3 statements about our math class, and they're seeing me doing it, write the same thing over and over again each day, and trying to get them that focus of doing it for 90 days so it sinks in before we go on to a new one, because they've asked me questions like, how long are we going to need to write this same thing over and over again? Can we do it a little shorter? So I explained to them 90 days is going to be a long enough time for it to be automatic for us.
Mhm.
We're doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So I've taken that statement with my 5 business. I've done it also in my classroom. So I'm
Okay.
planning to get over.
All right. Yes, that's the way to spread the knowledge. And of course, they'll be able to take this on with them in life once they start seeing the results. Once they see the results, they'll realize this is something that I need to keep up with.
Yes. And then after 90 days, like, okay, come up with 3 new one on your own.
Exactly. So that's great. So that's great news that we got, a world traveler. We have new refining of mission and vision and focus, and spreading what we're learning in the class to others. So, some good news for me this week. Let me see. I always have a lot of good news.
That's
Uh,
good.
but one of the things I guess I'm really excited about is my daughter. We're getting close to launching her shoe company. So
Wow.
that's
That's
really
good.
excited about that. Um, and she actually made the pitch to me to um, to invest in the business. And so, I told her, said, you've come to the Shark Tank, huh? Because I asked what would be my return on my investment, and she was like, "My continued love and devotion." I was
Wow.
like, "I already got that."
Wow.
So, really excited to see her creativity. And I told her, I said, we spend so much on you getting your bachelor's degree, then your master's degree to become an epidemiologist. I said, we could have cut that short and saved a whole lot of money if this is what you were going to do, for your life, if this is what you're interested, because she does have a creative side. And so, really excited, got the mock up for um, the packaging. We've gotten some samples in from the manufacturers for the design, so all of that is, just really, um, the excitement of it when you actually see it, versus it just being on paper, when you
Mhm.
actually see it in hand, in the strategy behind it. So I'll let y'all know when we actually launch.
Awesome.
Um,
You know,
and
will she be working on the side, or will that be her main focus?
the goal is for right now, it will be, she would be working on it on her business on the side with the intention of leaving
Hmm.
her government job.
Gotcha. Hmm.
That's and she's building around that. She was like, I don't want to be at the I'm going to tell you what she said, at the state plantation for 5 years.
Hey,
She
I
called it
agree.
the plantation. So, I understand. I said, but it's good. But what I am going to try to do is, even in with her business, I'm going to try to have her come under our consulting group
Hmm.
so she can still keep her epidemiology, her biostatistics, all of that still brewing. But she can do it as a contractor consulting.
Hmm.
I told her, I said, it's nothing wrong with having multiple funding streams of income. So, especially since when she's planning on not working when she starts her family
Hmm.
for the first 5 years because she wants to stay home.
Yeah,
So, I said, you got to build up that reserve,
that's right.
to be able to do that. So that's good. And so she tells me I have to retire when she starts having children, because when she does go back to work, that she doesn't want anybody else to be tending to the children but me. I said, child, mama be all over the place. So all I'm gonna do is tell you is pack up my bag and I'll be like, come on, babies, let's go. We rolling. So that was my good news for this week. So let's talk about briefly updates to your vision, mission, and value statement. Anybody have any updates that they would like to share, or refinement of their vision, mission, and value statements?
Um,
I actually I haven't taken much look at it again, but I got to make sure I take a look at it at least maybe once a day and, make sure that it's, the right thing for me.
Right.
I know I had the confusion between the vision and the mission statement. I got to double check those.
Yeah, recraft your vision. And remember, your vision is what will the world be like once your business is up and running. What will the world look like? What will be the benefit
Got it.
to a larger group? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm still working on, refining that vision, because you said to look at the community level.
Can I tell you my vision and mission statement again? Just because I think maybe for my vision, I might have done a mission statement. Maybe two.
Okay. Yes, you
Let
can.
me, let me bring it up real quick. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, so my vision statement was to become an organization dedicated to helping people build their confidence to achieve their goals. And then my mission statement was building mental and physical toughness for life's everyday challenges through martial arts. I think my mission statement is probably more fitting, and then I gotta
Yeah.
read on my.
Yeah, your mission statement is much more fitting. And your vision statement, you just have to think about, okay, if everybody in the world, if you achieve your mission,
Mhm,
and if everybody in the world increase their physical fitness, what will the world look like?
mhm,
What will happen? Like for example, we will have people on less medications. What is it?
mhm.
Okay.
Got it. Got it.
Anybody else?
Mhm,
I tweaked some of mine a little bit. And it was my value statement.
Hmm.
It was by encompassing historical wisdom and practices. PEWG Hobbies has dedicated itself to the enlightenment of um, individual, and it's a word that I'm trying to make sure it's a word I'm trying to find a replacement for, but it's to elevate humanity.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for everyone. Keep working. You have your journals and you're doing your 90-day, your captain and crew in your journals, but also remember I had suggested that you have a recording device. So, because you could be out in the park, you could be somewhere, out and you're not in a place to write. You can always record your thoughts at that moment and then go back to it and listen to it, when you're ready to sit down and really craft and work. Okay.
mhm.
All right. Let me go back. Sharing. Now this is the thing. For your homework last week, we asked everybody to do a bio or a history statement. This is a part of your plan. Remember what I said, if people want to invest, they more so than investing in a good business idea, they're really investing in you as the entrepreneur. So this is why we have this statement. So who would like to share the work they did on their history statement?
I can share mine first.
Okay.
I think I might have went a little bit long. I know you said a paragraph, but I think I probably have to break this down.
And make it more concise. If you have two, that's okay. You just don't want 2-3 pages.
Yeah, got maybe a little bit, a page and a quarter.
Okay.
Too much. But because I've always been a fan of martial arts films, shows, and competitions, and especially the UFC. I've been watching the UFC almost religiously for about since 2008, as it was the type of one-on-one sport that brought me back to my days of wrestling in high school. I'd always wanted to train in mixed martial arts since then, but the opportunities on the East Coast were very slim at the time, and I just didn't know about them. It wasn't until my work brought me to San Diego for a couple months in 2012 where I stumbled upon a gym where one of my favorite fighters would seldom come to train. I took an off day and headed to the gym one morning to try out a class. I still remember how nervous I was stepping into the gym for the first time, imagining the tough competitors awaiting there. When I got in the gym, it was empty as there was no class at that time of the morning. I was going to leave, but one of the coaches who was there said he could show me some things before I left. He provided me with some boxing gloves and held boxing mitts for me as he proceeded to call out commands. As soon as I hit the mitts, I knew I had found something special. It was the feeling of love at first sight, and I was immediately hooked on training. I continued to train for the rest of my time in California. I came back to the East Coast and found another gym to train at, and continued to train until it became a part of my life. I had my first MMA competition in 2015 and have been competing and training ever since. But one of the greatest feelings I get from it now is when I can help someone or teach someone else on their journey about martial arts. When I can give back and show people the amazing things this can do for you. How it can improve your mood, teach you self-defense, improve your health, and strengthen you physically and mentally for life's challenges. The satisfaction that I get is knowing that it helps someone along the way improve themselves, overcome obstacles, and learn something new. Even though myself, I'm still learning and will be a lifelong student, I will always seek to teach others and help them along their way.
Very good. It's not too long.
Oh, thank you.
I love the storytelling aspect because a part of leadership is storytelling.
Mhm.
And not the kind of storytelling. When I grew up, when we say, "Oh, you telling a story," that means you were lying.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But storytelling is an important part um of your business.
Mhm.
How you got there, what was your drive, what was your motivation. So it's not too long. I didn't think it was too long because
Okay.
the telling of the story really brings the reader in and engages them. See, I understand now why you want to open a martial arts school or mixed martial arts. You understand what I'm saying? I understand. I can connect with it.
Mhm.
And that's what you want. You want it to grab people, and that will be your brand, and you want them to connect with your message.
Good. Thank you.
So good job.
Thank you.
All right. Who's next? Miss Carolyn or Miss Melvina?
Okay, mine is not that detailed and in
Look,
depth.
let me just say this
Okay.
before you get started, Miss Carolyn. It's not a competition, but we're here to support and help one another. So
Okay.
don't feel like yours is not, no. That's
Oh,
your opinion. But go ahead.
all right. All right. Born and raised in, well, talk about in this area. I grew up with dirt for playtime, pastime. Other than school sports, no activities were available. This narrow world was very bleak. While knowing through media and TV, others engaged in many activities. I seek to enrich the lives of those now in the position I was with different activities not normally done in this area: archery, skating, and bowling.
Very good. See, you're giving them a peek in, but also keeping your privacy as well. But you're giving them a peek into this is how I grew up with limited access to playtime, healthy playtime, physical activity, whether it was actually truly physical or exploring, art in the creative activity. So very good. See, I don't know why you
Okay.
thought.
I know it needs more work.
Yeah, yes, we can always tweak it. Do some tweaking. But very good start. Very good start.
All right, it's my turn, right?
Yes.
So I got a small bio. It's because it's three of us, but I could just do mine.
Okay.
And mine is basically Melvina Allen's, whose background is in cybersecurity. Raised from a small city in Ohio, her country roots has always been tied to land and appreciation of nature, with the belief of healthy living and research, and always research dietary needs. When the youngest began to experience severe allergies, when the youngest, the severe allergies, it had me deep dive into nutrition even further, and and holistic was the path from there that I chose to follow. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, good, because you're talking about your connection with the land, the connection with nature, um, and all things natural, which is your emphasis on holistic practices for the well-being
Hmm.
of the world,
Hmm.
and them connecting with holistic practices. See there, I kind of recapped that some kind of good, huh?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
The important point is when you finish, when someone finished reading it or you finish sharing your story, that someone can pick, this is why this person is in this business. And it's more than just it's a good business or it's a good business idea, but there's a connection. People appreciate that, because one of the things, you remember what I said, people are like, oh, I want to be in business, but sometimes they don't have an idea of where, um what they want to do. And that's what I always point them back to, is you have to look at what is your passion,
Hmm.
and that's what your business is, and that's what your business is going to spring out of. Okay, so very good, everyone. Let's give ourselves a hand, and let's move to our next slide. So let's talk business, okay? Um, Today we're going to be talking about the difference between a side hustle, a gig, and an actual business, and what that means, what all of that means. And so, let me just first ask: when you hear someone say, "I have my own business," what are some of the thoughts that come up?
What type of business?
What type of business is it? I mean, do you have any perceived, some notions? Like, for example, I was at a meeting with a training for the Federal Home Loan Bank of Dallas, and there was a young man who was at the table, and he was saying that he was a planner, a urban planner. He went to school for civil engineering. So I got all excited because I'm working on my PhD in industrial and organizational psychology. And one of my research projects that I'm going to be working on to be published is about the lack of diversity and inclusion in urban planning. Most urban planners are white males, but they're planning urban communities, like where schools are going to go, where access to food, all of that. But those people that they're planning for don't look like them. So I was all excited. I was like, I'm doing this, and he's a black, and he said he's urban, he's an urban planner. So naturally, I'm thinking he's working for one of the local governments, right? Oh, he was like, no, well, I have my own business, and but that's not what I envision. Okay, so you have an office somewhere, even if it's in your house, you have an office. So that's what I was thinking, but actually, that's not what it turned out to be. So that's what I mean when you hear somebody say, "Oh, I have my own business." What are you thinking? What pictures come up in your mind?
For me, it would be a job they're working 40 plus hours a week
Mhm.
and they're in control of making sure everybody else is taken care of.
Mhm.
So, like
Okay.
a friend of mine that has this landscaping business, he's like, that's all he does.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, when I hear that, I'm also always thinking about, is that their main focus, their main source of income, or do they have a job? Do they have the job while they're working on the business on the side?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mhm.
thinking about.
Right. And let me tell you, very few people when they develop and say, "Okay, I want to go into business. I want to start a business." Most of the times, people are working somewhere else because they need income.
Mm-hmm.
Unless your last name is Kennedy or Rockefeller, most of the time you have to do something, until you get the business up to a point where it's making a profit and you can um, gain income from. Like when I first started on the nonprofit side, when I first started out, I worked for other nonprofits. But now I don't have to do that. I do, in a sense, work with other nonprofits doing consulting on the for-profit side. But when I first started, I couldn't afford just to work on Hope Center constantly.
Yeah.
I had to go to I'm not going to even say a 9 to 5. It was a 9 to 9, and really do this, work on the nonprofit. Even once we got our first funding, I still work. It was about, I would say, two, maybe 5 years before I um I ended up, 5 years of working on the nonprofit and working for someone else when I left and became and did the full time and was able to have an income for myself and not all the other employees. So let's look at a side hustle, okay? Now let me just tell you, the slides that we're going to go through and the information that we're going to go through in the next 30 minutes, it is in no way trying to belittle anybody's efforts. We just want you to be clear on what each are, and decide which one you want to go, because some people may always do a side hustle. They may not want to be full time in business. So like I said, once we go through, this is not to belittle anyone, because I'm going to tell you, I did side hustles when I was a single mother growing up with children. I needed extra income, so I couldn't afford to buy my daughter the fancy bows and socks, matching socks and all of that stuff. So what I did was I learned how to make them on my own. Well, people were so impressed with them. They was like, "Well, can you make me something?" So I started a side hustle. I started making bows and socks. And it brought some extra income, and so I was good. So, I definitely understand the purpose, um, when you need a little extra income. So let's talk about a side hustle. A side hustle is a way to make some extra cash that allows you flexibility to pursue what you're most interested in. It can also be your true passion, a chance to delve into fashion, travel, or whatever it is you care about the most without quitting your day job. So, if anything, you just remember about a side hustle is extra cash,
Excellent.
and that'll um, bring it into fruition for you. So next, then we have the gig. A gig economy is a free market system in which temporary positions are common and organizations contract with independent workers for short term engagements. The current reality is that people tend to change jobs several times throughout their working lives. The gig economy can be seen as an evolution of that trend. So you see the difference? A side hustle is a way to make what?
Extra
Extra
cash.
money.
Extra money. Your gig is that's your source of income, but it's just not steady. You're not working for a Fortune 500 company 5 days a week or whatever it is.
It's not a job, but
Yeah.
it's like part time. You mean? Or?
Um,
It
it's
could be.
more. It could be full time, but it's temporary.
Okay,
You're not working for one particular entity.
gotcha.
You may work for this company for 2 months under a contract. Um, you may work for another company after that contract ends. So
Gotcha.
that's what a gig is, a gig
Oh,
economy.
gotcha, gotcha. Mhm.
So so now let's get to what is a business. The term business is changing. And a business is defined as an organization or an economic system where goods and services are exchanged for one another or for money. Every business requires some form of investment and enough customers to whom its output can be sold on a consistent basis in order to make a profit. So that's what a business is. A business can be privately owned, not for profit, or state owned. An example of a corporate business is PepsiCo, the Pepsi company, while a mom and pop catering business is a private enterprise. So, we're going to get um, into, I think is the first week, the first class session in April, where we'll get more specific into business structures and talking about the different ways to incorporate. So I have the link there. So also, let's look at what the census, United States Census is. They talk about what is a business as well, and the rise in self employment challenges the common wisdom about business. Most of the times, when you think business, it's a brick and mortar place of work with employees and managers who have benefits and paid time off. Well, think again. The latest data shows that three-fourths of U.S. businesses may be run out of someone's home and have zero employees. And that's called non employer businesses. There's a rise in the number of self employed um, that has altered what people believe a business is. Last October, the U.S. Census Bureau released a new report that combines the data published on employer businesses with data on businesses without paid employees or non-employers.
Excuse
This,
me.
mhm.
Should we be able to see that link?
Should you be able to see it?
Yes.
Can y'all
When
see
you
it? Am I
clicked on it,
sharing my screen? What are y'all seeing now? Still a PowerPoint?
let's talk business.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I clicked on it. I can see it, but I have to share it. So let me get it. Da, 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 da. Here we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Can y'all see it now? Okay, let me
Yes.
scroll back up. This is from the U.S. Um, United States Census Department. So, traditionally, businesses were considered brick and mortar enterprises that have paid employees. They have staff to manage, who manage employees, and they provide benefits for them, including employer-sponsored health and paid time off, paid unemployment insurance taxes. Also they pay unemployment insurance taxes for their workers. There are nearly about 7.8 million established covered by the County Business Patterns Program. In 2016, these businesses employed almost 127 million people and reported just over 6.4 trillion in annual payroll, or about 50,769 per employee. But what about self-employed people? How prevalent are they, and how important are they to our local economy? Well, the non-employer statistics program, there were almost 25 million
Wow.
non-employer businesses in 2016 that accounted for more than 76.2% of all businesses. These are businesses with no paid employees and are subject to federal income tax. Most non-employers are self-employed. They operate as sole proprietorships, which may or may not be the owner's principal source of income. So, and it's across every sector. So we can see that the term business is changing because there are so many people who are becoming self-employed. And but they're not major corporations with all of these employees or have any employees. They are considered to be self-employed. And so the site gives us a lot of data. Um, you have the link because I'll send the PowerPoint out after class. And it even talks about how self-employed can earn more money than actually go and work for someone else's business. So, what do you think is driving those self-employed businesses?
I think the rise of e-commerce businesses,
Mm-hmm.
definitely real estate,
Yes.
and the stock markets as well.
Right.
Those.
Being able to diversify. What happened? What do you think over time? Because like my parents, they were public servants
Mm-hmm.
and they worked for their employers 40 years. Same employer.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't move.
Wow.
And didn't move, leave a job, anything about, started working for that employer and retired, still working for that employer.
Mm-hmm.
What has changed?
And
You
just
used
yeah,
mm-hmm. Go ahead.
the rise in like what we can do on the
hmm
yeah, just information, technology. I think we're able to do so much with computers and networks and stuff like that.
Right. Telecommunication is a big piece of it. Businesses are learning I don't need a brick and mortar building. That's a lot of overhead,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what type of business you're in. But also, the companies have changed.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking to have all of these employees where they're paying benefits and all of that. How many companies are now doing contract labor,
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
outsourcing many of
Mm-hmm.
their aspects, instead of containing it all in house? So that's another reason why for the increase in self employment as well.
Mm. Okay.
So, the market is changing, companies have changed, and basically, and then attitudes have been have changed. um you know in later generations, and especially in this current generation, they're very adamant. They don't plan on working for somebody forever.
Mm-hmm.
They just like, I'm not working for somebody building their business when I can be building my own.
Our own, right?
That's right.
Right. And so, the attitude has changed, and then we've had more examples of people who are successful, and have been successful, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So let me get back to PowerPoint. So you'll have the opportunity to review that whole article once you get the PowerPoint.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So, that's the difference between a side hustle, a gig, and what is a business. And you do have people who are self-employed who are self-employed, actually full time. And so that's the difference between a side hustle and having a business. And then the difference, even with the gig economy, that those people who are self employed could be counted in that number if they have it set up as a business. And it's not just Joe Blow public,
Mhm.
doing different things for a certain company. So remember last week we talked about the different sectors. We talked about the for-profit, private sector, the nonprofit, the public sector, and then the social sector.
Mhm.
Well, today is the day where you're going to decide or have some thoughts. Have y'all given any thoughts about what sector is your business going to be in?
Mm-mm.
I haven't
No?
yet. No, I
Okay.
gotta take a look at them again. For profit, non-profit, and
The
social.
social enterprise, okay? The reason why that's important is because it will determine how you incorporate. What is
Mm.
going to be your business legal structure? Okay.
Mhm.
So, for example, what questions do you have in your mind about your business? So, Collins, tell
Mhm.
me why you're between for-profit, nonprofit, or social enterprise. What are the question marks there?
Um, just the definitions again, kind of just
Okay.
uh, you know, finding I guess the difference again. I guess I got to look at it. Take another look at how they relate to each other.
Okay. All right.
Me, it won't be social enterprise because it's not a huge gain. So it's this toss up between for profit and nonprofit. It has to lean more towards profit because I have to make money instead of rely on donations and grants. But then again, being recreational, I'm sure I know there are some grants and projects that would fund it, but I don't know fully.
Mhm. Well, now, for yours, it just depends on how you want to fund it. If this is a community that has not been able to offer these services because of a lack of interest or a lack of funding, and you're coming in with this new intervention, well, you may want to do it as a nonprofit.
Hmm.
Because remember, when we talked about what a nonprofit, what's the difference between a nonprofit and for profit? They both profit
Yeah.
from what they do. It's where the profits go. So your
Mm.
for profit, the profit is split between, well, is owned by the owner and the shareholders. In a nonprofit, there's no owners, there's no shareholders.
Okay,
There
goes
aren't any
back into the operations.
goes back into the operations. So,
Mhm.
and as a part of the operations, remember that salaries,
Our
brick and
public.
mortar supplies, all of that comes out of that. So, and even as a nonprofit, you can offer what we call fee for services. So it doesn't always have to be that you're totally dependent on grants or you're totally dependent on donations or contributions. In that manner, it could be a fee charge based on a sliding fee scale based on the income of
Mhm.
the family. I always do believe, because I've run camps, all of that through the nonprofit. And we had a registration fee, even though the program was fully funded by a benefactor, right?
Mhm.
And we still had the families pay something because people tend to disvalue when stuff is free.
Mhm.
They don't take it as seriously. So when people put up their hard earned money, it's like what? They're going to make
Yeah.
sure they participate because they
Yeah.
figure they will be losing out on something. So, and we did it on a sliding fee scale, of course. because we realized that many of the families and the households in the community, the reason why they were coming to our kids programs or sending their kids to our kids program is because they didn't have the money to pay for daycare. They didn't have the money to, pay for somebody to watch the child in a meaningful way. They couldn't pay for tutoring services because, in addition to recreation, we had educational services as well. We help kids to complete their homework. We also help them in any areas that they were having trouble in, whether it was reading. We had reading specialists, math specialists, you name it. And then we had the fun stuff too. So we gave them activity, recreation as well as, and actually, Collins, we had a karate class too,
Oh, nice.
as a part of the recreational piece that we did. So,
I can't remember if you said last week. If you choose one, is it pretty tough to switch to another one? Like nonprofit,
ye-
the pre
yes, you would have to probably,
starting the
it's
business.
easy to, it's, you can switch your legal structure,
Okay.
but the sector,
Hmm.
the particular sector that you're going into is hard.
Hmm.
You can't really switch once you've, set up the structure for it. You can't say, "Oh, I'm nonprofit today, well, I'm a for profit tomorrow."
Gotcha.
You can be, but you just have to create another organization. You have
Got
to
it.
file a separate incorporation.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I think mine would be leaning towards more towards nonprofit.
Okay. All right. So, Miss Melvina, I know.
It is mine was under for profit,
Hmm.
and that's the one I selected uh,
Okay.
because if anything that comes along with it, I can always open up a nonprofit
Hmm.
or
Grow a
anything that.
nonprofit of it. Grow a nonprofit piece to it.
Yeah, because
You
I was
just.
just thinking about which one is not necessarily is easier, but what I knew at the time. Uh,
Hmm.
Trying to follow legal, like everything, because they have their own beast in each one.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yes, they do, and it just depends. Like, right now, I mean, I've had people approach me, was like, Cheryl, let's start this nonprofit. I was like, yo, I'm not starting another nonprofit. I was like, Jesus will have to come down to earth
Yeah.
to get me to start another nonprofit.
Hmm.
And my whole thing is I really don't need to start a nonprofit. Now, I've always told them I'll be happy to help you,
Hmm.
but I don't have a reason to start another nonprofit.
Yeah.
And then I have my for profit, which is really what I'm focusing on, and really, transitioning out of the nonprofit, and just, becoming a board member,
Hmm.
to kind of keep the continuity of the mission and the vision, um, that type of thing. So, you really, coming from a nonprofit background,
Hmm.
um, it's a full scale business. I will tell anybody, don't think nonprofits are cakewalks. Don't think it's easier, because it's not.
Hmm.
You really have to run it just like a for profit business,
Hmm.
for it to be sustainable. You have to do everything just like a for profit business, as far as being a steward of resources, accountability, all of that. A nonprofit has two bottom lines. You have the fiscal bottom line, but you also have the social aid bottom line. People are not only looking at, are you fiscally sound, but what good are you doing? Do you have proof of and evidence that your work and what you've been spending money on for staff, for resources, all of that, Is it really helping somebody? Is it really addressing an issue? So a nonprofit has two bottom lines. Now your social enterprise is the same, but they have two bottom lines as well, because the social enterprise is a for-profit entity. It is not a nonprofit entity, but it is a for-profit entity, but its whole purpose is to develop resources to address a social issue. But you have an owner, you can have stakeholders and shareholders, or shareholders, and a portion of the profits can be distributed to those owners. Um, but also a portion of those profits go into doing the most good, or should. Let's put
I
it
have
like
a
that. Mm.
I have a question. Is the social enterprise, is that new? Is that like um
Yes, it's been developing. Entrepreneurship has, I think it's always been there. Like I told you, Ben and Jerry's ice cream company is an example, and they've been around for years. But they were at the forefront of it.
okay.
Now you have more, and so it's becoming increasingly, and we're going to talk about that. You'll be getting a book talk about the core B structure, and that's what that structure is: the social enterprise, and
Okay.
what it allows for. So it's been around, but it's just gained momentum. People are like, I can be in business and do good.
Oh, so is that like the benefit one where you got to get the
Yes,
certified B seal? Oh, okay.
yes,
It's okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yep, that's the benefit corporation.
Okay.
So we're
Got
going to
you.
talk about that after spring break, about all those legal structures. And
Okay.
then your book that you're getting, I don't know if it's come in yet, but you'll get it then too, is the core B structure. So it'll give you all the information about the core B structure. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So as you think, but now remember, we had pictures in our last week. So y'all have to then to kind of decide. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Now let's talk about. Wait a minute, y'all. What time is it? Because I won't give y'all the break. Because see, I can roll right on, y'all. I'll just go right on, and y'all be like, "When's she gonna stop talking?" Okay. So it's about 6:30.
Mhm.
So we've been in class about an hour. So let's take 10 minute
Okay.
break. That way
Okay.
you can get something to drink, use the restroom, and we'll be back on, and we'll start talking about the entrepreneur mindset.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, hi everyone.
Hello.
We're back. Did Melvina leave us?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because I don't see her. But we're gonna go ahead and start back with the entrepreneur mindset. And remember in our first class, I talked about the first thing you have to work on is you. Um, you have to have a mindset, a positive mindset, um, that this venture is really what you want to do. This venture can make a difference, as well as this venture is something that you're willing to put your all in all to into. So entrepreneurs are all different. They all have a different entrepreneurship mindset that contributes to their success. And their mindset might have to do with their personality or even the field in which they have chosen to work. I don't know how I muted myself, but I managed to do
Okay.
it. So, so here we go. So we're gonna take a look at tonight 10 entrepreneurs and what their advice is to other entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So one of the mindsets that the first mindset that we're going to look at that entrepreneurs have, some successful entrepreneurs. Let me add that because not all entrepreneurs are successful. Um, they reach out to customers first. Um, though it may seem that to many like product development should come first. Greg Gianforte, I will butcher his name, insists that that's the wrong approach. He's in the tech sector, and this is where his experience was the strongest. But instead of him starting with a prototype for a product or a service and then seeking funding, he started by getting on the phone with potential customers that led to the conversations about what kind of product they would buy. So, when you're starting out, you want to talk about what you want to do and, talk to people and get their honest opinion. Some will love it, some will not. But you want to remember that everything we do, whether it's a certain business or where we developing technologies or programs or services, who is the end user? The end user are people. And so we want to make sure that we're focusing on people first. Now, somebody once told me that in the military, there was this saying, mission first, people always. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So it's true in business. People always, who's going to use your products and services? Who are you making it for? For people, or who are you starting programs for? For people. So one of the things that many people make mistake, just because I'm interested in something doesn't mean the whole world is interested in it. So you want to make sure you have a market, you have a target group, and so it's good to talk to people about whatever it is you're doing. Like, for example, Carolyn, when you go home, you may want to talk to the youth and community. What would they like to see? You just don't want to create programs, right?
Right.
And they not access them. So you want to talk about what will they like to do, and what would they like to have in the community. One of the things that I did when we were working heavily with youth, is I had them each say how would they design the community, what would their neighborhood look like if the resources were not an option. What would they have in their neighborhood? And you would be surprised. the things that they came up with it. And the way I did it is not to have them write it out, but they had to create a picture, a portrait of it. And so, and then they, of course, they explained it. And another about 2 years ago, I launched and did this youth summit, and we had it at a local artist's warehouse. This artist was not your normal painter. He did everything with spray paint, and he actually turned abandoned buildings into artwork around the city.
Wow.
And so we had the summit there because it was very picturesque, very graphic. The artwork was just beautiful, and it was something that inspired youth, and they could work. And as a part of it, they each had their own canvas panel, which was a small panel, and on that panel, they had to identify what would the city of New Orleans look like. What did they want for the city? And then we took, as a part of that day, we took all of those panels and had them framed into one big portrait to
Mm.
represent all of the youth from that event. And so it's different ways that you can get feedback from your customers or your clients in creative ways. So they really don't think you're drilling them for information. It could be a casual conversation with a group. So that mindset, number one mindset, reach out to customers first. And then from that, you can tailor and design your products and your services to people. The second mindset came from Sam Phillips, who was the founder of Sun Records. And he did not invent rock and roll, but his small Memphis label will be forever linked to the beginnings of rock and roll. And there was some artists like Elvis and I can't remember the other ones that that actually started out with some records. So sometimes your product is your product, but you have to find the market or the place. So Phillips established his recording studio and eventually his record label as a way to capture the interaction of country and blues music. He was already a familiar face as a DJ. Um, and there was a wealth of talent that he believed most of the country was unfamiliar with and had never heard. So he created a relaxed studio environment with unique acoustics to capture and immortalize the talent of major artists. So basically, he had the existing product, which was rock and roll, but he wanted to find a new market. He didn't invent it, but he was able. So sometimes going into business, what you're doing is not totally unique, but you're exposing it to a market, to people who normally wouldn't have been exposed, and creating that brand. Then thirdly, we have using networking to build your business. It is important to network. How y'all know we talk about networking all the time? We talk about network when we want to get a job. We talk about networks, just networking, period. And I don't know if y'all have many of these here. I know it was big in Orlando. And it's it's gaining traction here in New Orleans, but they have these network nights where people host these, light cocktails after work, social thing, and they just invite people to come, and people end up meeting and networking with others around their business, and their whole purpose for being at that event is to network. So do y'all have that in the Maryland, DC area?
Yeah, it's pretty
Those
big in DC.
Okay.
DC.
Okay. So those events, so those are opportunities for you to network, for you to go to that. Also, your local business or your chamber of commerce is another way to network. And a lot of times they have the Black Chamber of Commerce, they'll have the Women's Chamber of Commerce. So it is good to go to networking events. This is something that I had to learn. I'll just be honest with you. I am not big on going to social events. And just to tell you how it is, my family even gets on me because, we'll have weddings. I'll send you a gift. I'm not, I'm not coming to the weddings and definitely not the funerals.
Yeah.
You have to be someone very close to me, for me to show up at a funeral
Hmm.
and at a social event like that. Most of the times what I would do is I just wanted to go and show my face, y'all saw me as my boss. I'm a boss. Well, he's like my boss, my pastor.
Hmm.
Um, I even did it with church functions, like when we would have Christmas socials or picnics or whatever.
Hmm.
And he was like, yeah, some people make a cameo appearance. I was like, yeah, I know you're talking about me because that's it. And but what he didn't understand is that's not, I work with people all day. And so in my spare time, sometimes I want a little quiet time,
Hmm.
some myself time. But um my businesses have been successful because of networking. Now once you get me in and talking, guess what? I can roll. I can find the connection. I
Hmm.
can find the connection. I can make that connection. So using networking to build your business is an important part. Um, Many entrepreneurs talk about the importance of networking, but few are as specific about how and why networking is important as Jason Nazar, the co founder and CEO of DocStock.com. Nazar says he owes his success, particularly the founding and growth of his current company, to his networking effort. He says he used networking to raise 4 million in startup funds. He also used it to locate a co-founder and build the majority of his organization. He does give some important advice to other entrepreneurs when using networking in business. First, you have to measure the return on the investment you are getting from your networking efforts. Second, make sure you give something of value first when making connections instead of beginning by asking for something. And that is so true. You do have to measure. For like example, if you've been going to the Chamber of Commerce meeting for let's say the last 2 months, and you have not made any substantial connections, then it's time for you to move to another networking event or area. So you want to be very careful that you're not just going to stuff to go to stuff, because your time is valuable. You have a lot of things to do, right? You have families, you have first of all, you have your family, you have your friends, you also have, most of you are in school right now, so you have that as well. So you want to make sure you're using wise use of your time. And then the second point he made was to make sure you give something of value first. Um, One of the things I had to learn, because see, I read a lot. I'm an avid reader. And that's another thing that successful business people do. They keep abreast on what's going on, not only in their market, but in the whole world. What's going on in the world, what could affect their business, what can be a new novel innovative idea. So they keep up to date on what's going on. So I'm reading all the time, and so I read a lot of different subject matters. So a lot of times when I go to networking events, it's easy for me to connect with people because something they mentioned, I'm gonna have some knowledge somewhere. It might be not be a whole lot, but it will be enough to start a conversation.
Mhm.
Another piece with the networking piece, let me tell you what works real well, and you have to be genuine about it, and it can't be um, so contentious. But I have an interest in people. So I not only want to know what your business is, I'm not nosy. I don't want to delve into your personal, real deep things, but I want to know who you are as a person. What about your family? What's your family values? Where you vacation? What do you like to do? What are you passionate about? And so a lot of people are drawn to me because I do have that genuine interest in their well-being. It's not anything contrived. And so what happens is you will develop, like one of my business partners on another level. We met about 12 years ago. We were both at a conference. She was from New York City. I was from New Orleans. We didn't know each other from the man in the moon. But inside a week, we became, at that conference, we're lifelong friends to this day. All these years later. And some people was like, well, how did y'all meet? Y'all from opposite ends of the country. And I told them, I said, we was in a session, we networked, and we just kind of connected. And it just stuck. You know, we kept up with each other when we were going to different trainings. We kind of checked in to see if the other was going so we could have a meetup. And actually, like a couple of years later, when we were at the same training, this particular friend, which I call friend, girlfriend, sister, now the conference organizers, we were actually in our hotel rooms, which was a huge hotel in downtown Atlanta. We were actually placed, our rooms were right next to each other, next door. We had no control over that. So, I kind of think it was fate that we were supposed to be as close as we are, um, and in business and as well as personally, um, making some things happen for others. So another key point. So can you tell me, can somebody just give us an example of a time that they were networking and it made for a good relationship, whether it was in business, in school, or personally?
Mm. I met when I was traveling in South America. I happened to meet an American guy. We kind of hit it off. I guess when you travel to another foreign country, Americans or people who speak the same language from the same place, kind of gravitate towards each other.
Hmm.
But we got to talking, and then I have a outside of martial arts, my other passion is traveling. I love to travel, and it was the same with his. And we kind of got to talking about our passions. Traveling, place we've been, things we want to do. And when I travel, as opposed to staying in a hotel, I like to stay in hostels, so I can meet
Hmm.
people, make friends and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And the same for him, kind of like a backpacking style.
Hmm.
So one of my ideas, the possible business idea was to like start my own hostel, maybe in the States or maybe in another country,
Hmm.
bring people together to travel as well. And he kind of had that same, passion for it as well. So we kind of, got to talking about it, and it's, a possible idea is something we may do in the future.
Hmm.
But we're still good friends, and we seldom hit each other up, and give each other ideas for stuff like that.
Hmm. Great, great. Collins, I tell you, I admire you. I
And
love to travel too. But
hmm
Cheryl got to be in a 4 or 5 star hotel that she got wait staff,
yeah,
room service,
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. I'm
I
very
love it too.
different.
Yeah, no, hey, I definitely love it too.
Let me tell you, I do travel. I do travel a lot for business.
Yeah.
Like next month, every week I'm traveling every week
Yeah.
in April,
Mhm.
um on business in April.
Nice.
And so I do sometimes get to squeeze in some, leisure time when I'm on business trips. It
Mhm.
just depends on what's going on back here. If I have to get back here for a meeting, I may stay a day or two.
Mhm.
Um, but I love traveling. And really, I can travel by myself
Yeah.
and alone. Not that I want to be a loner, because
Mhm.
I like connecting with people as well.
Yeah.
But I think when I traveled extensively when I was appointed to a National Committee on Job Corps for the federal government. It was an appointed position for the U.S. Department of Labor.
Yeah.
And so I was traveling a lot because I had to visit different Job Corps centers across the nation. I
Mhm.
was trying to get them to send me to Hawaii and Puerto Rico. I wanted to really visit those,
Yeah.
but they were like, "No, we're gonna stay in the continental United States." I said, "Okay." So
Yeah.
that was fun. So, and because of that, that had me traveling a lot by myself. So I learned to travel by myself.
Yeah.
So now, when I travel with friends or family and all of that, I'm like, "Oh my God," because I'm used to, when I'm traveling for business, I'm used to doing what Cheryl wants to do.
Right. Yeah.
When I'm traveling with others, I feel like I got to participate in everything,
Yeah.
that I have to entertain,
Yeah.
and things like. And then especially with my kids, they want to go everywhere and see everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes Mama just want to sit on the lounge chair by the
That's
pool, and debrief, and
right.
I go on vacation with them. It's not a vacation. I come back more tired than when I left,
Yeah.
because it's going to have a lot of activities. So,
Mhm.
but that's good. You do meet a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I can say that is because I actually met my husband traveling,
Awesome.
while I was traveling. And so I can really say travel has done me well. I've
Mhm.
met some good friends, made some good friends, and met the love of my life. And and really, my partner for life for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
The only thing is, y'all, he don't like to travel.
Oh.
He's a homebody. So, but we're breaking him out of that slowly but surely.
That's good.
We're breaking him out of that, exposing. I was like, I am not gonna be sitting up in no house.
Yeah.
We're gonna go somewhere and see something and do something.
Right. Baby steps.
Yes, yes, yes. I gotta give him baby steps.
Yeah.
So, but I will tell y'all this: I will go without him because I got
Yeah.
girlfriends that
That's right.
will go.
Yeah.
So, the next mind. So, what did y'all think about the first three mindsets?
Mhm.
Make sure you talk to customers.
Mhm.
Focus on the customers versus on the product first.
Let me see.
So, do you find that to be true or to be helpful in your thinking?
That,
Yeah, that makes sense because they're the ones that are going to be using or purchasing your product. So you need to know what they want.
Hmm.
And like you said, finding out from the youth there what
Hmm.
activities they would be interested in would work in my business because I
Hmm.
don't need activities that they wouldn't want to participate in.
Right. Exactly.
I had a question in regards to that though.
Hmm.
Focusing on, 'cause I think definitely, especially with me, I guess my way to approach would be to approach the customer would be to, I guess, offer my product or my service and see what they think about it.
Hmm.
You think it'd be better to maybe have a conversation or talk first and
Well, it depends because it depends on who you're targeting. If you're targeting the gamut from children and youth to adults,
okay,
the conversation is different.
got you, got you. To
The
find
method of conversation is different.
that.
So for adults it may be a conversation. Um, for young people, it may be that you host, a martial arts mini exhibition. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because they have to have more engagement.
that's right.
And by the way, my husband loves martial arts. Oh my
Awesome.
God.
Awesome.
Now he doesn't do any martial arts,
Yeah.
but he loves watching martial arts movies.
Nice. Nice.
What he loves.
Right.
Okay. So let's go on to the next three entrepreneurs. We have James Utcher, who says, give without expecting a return. Oh my God. What, most people in business, or most people who are not in business, they were like, aren't you in business to make money?
Mhm.
Well, yes and no. Yes, I'm in business. I have to make money to sustain, to pay employees, to create employment opportunities,
Mhm.
all of that. But that's not my focus.
Yes.
So, give without expecting a return. So James says stands by the belief that great opportunities come your way when you offer something without looking for payback. Butcher says he regularly sends out ideas to people with whom he would like to do business. Sorry about that, y'all. I forgot to turn it off. Whom he would like to do business, or those he admires and would like to meet and ask for, and to meet, and he asks for nothing in return. Often he does not receive so much as a response. He says, but sometimes the results are magical. In one instance, Utcher sent investment expert Jim Cramer, co-founder of TheStreet.com, a list of suggested article topics. As a result, Utcher received an invitation to become a contributing writer for The Street. Um, and so he just sent it out. I'm really not expecting anything
Yeah.
to happen, but it happens. And sometimes it's about getting out there. But now let me just tell you,
Mhm.
this talks about a lot of times we are very proprietary. Um, we know someone, we've heard of someone, we've saw on the news, we've seen it throughout history where people's ideas, their recipes, all of this was stolen from them, correct?
Mhm.
One of the things that I often tell people, they say, well, Cheryl, you share so much with others, you um have a wealth of information and you're always sharing. And I'm always flushing out ideas. Like right now, I have an idea for a program that I would like to do for fathers, a fatherhood initiative. And sometimes it helps me to share it with someone. Um, and so you have to know who you're sharing with. You have to know their integrity. So you just can't be sharing with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also, even if you share and somebody takes your idea, I have been in business long enough, and what I have seen, there have been people who tried, there have people who have taken my idea, and went with it, ran with it, tried to expand it, but guess what? It did not work.
Mm.
It did not work because they weren't appointed to do it. It wasn't given to them to do.
Mhm.
So I rarely worry about pro- proprietary things. One thing I can tell you, I had an example. It was a gentleman who was a foundation officer for a major foundation. And he was a program officer, and he called me up because we were friends. And he said, Cheryl, send me what you have. This was from a nonprofit. He dangled out the caveat that there's a possibility you could get funding. Send me your thoughts, on your programming for young people, ages 18 to 24. and what you're doing because I want to present it to my boss and blah blah blah. Well,
Mhm.
I didn't hear. I shared it, right?
Yeah.
Um, if it worked and if it brought funding in, fine. If it didn't, that was okay too. So I really wasn't expecting anything in return. But what I did find out, I went on the foundation's website and I saw my thoughts and my words on their files, on their website when they talked about doing work with young people 18 to 24. Essentially, he stole my intellectual property
Wow.
and presented it as his own at the foundation.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let me tell you how and I didn't go after him. I didn't say, well, you did this and none of that. I didn't make a big stink about it
Mhm.
or anything. I just went on, knowing that he knows and I know, you know.
Mhm.
And so anybody who, even when I had colleagues to go on to the website and read it, it was like, Cheryl, that's you up and down.
Wow.
That's you, we know that's you.
Mhm.
And so what ended up happening is I still remain friends, but a little bit more distant, right?
Mhm.
Because you proved to me that I can't trust you. So, but anyway, his career with the foundation ended badly. Um, Not so good for him. I mean, he's still doing well in his own right, but he was working with one of the top 5 foundations in the world.
Wow.
And so now he's working with a more regional foundation. But he constantly had trouble. He constantly had people who were accusing and citing him of things and all of that. And they were like against him, and he felt like they were against him, and they were trying to sabotage him and all of that. And I
Mhm.
knew what it was
Yeah.
because you can't do those types of things and expect it to prosper you forever.
Mhm.
So that's the example of, one, making sure who you're communicating with. And even if it's somebody you consider as a friend, family member, or whatever, and they take your idea, know that they cannot profit them. They can't prosper by it or in it without you because it was given to you. So the next entrepreneur is Jack Ma, also known as Ma Young, is the founder and guiding hand behind Alibaba. Alibaba,
Alibaba. Yeah.
a giant Hong Kong-based wholesale e-commerce site. Despite its popularity and financial success, Alibaba's road to acceptance outside of China has not been easy. He has complaints about counterfeit or fake items sold on the site as name brands that abound. And of course, the problem is exacerbated as Alibaba attempts to position itself as a site other businesses use as a source of wholesale merchandise. As Alibaba considers going public with an IPO, another challenge looms. Ma wants to keep tight control of his company and of the team of executive he already has in place. This can be very hard to do once investors enter the picture. Many investors want to have a say in how the company is run after investing their hard earned money. But Ma believes in his vision for his company and in the culture he has created to get the job done. So, one of the things that he's promoting is that keep control of your business. This is so important. This is not, we're talking about developing vision statements, right? For our business. So what happens is you want to make sure you maintain control of your vision no matter how big you grow. You want to make sure that your vision for your business is not altered like by investor or by a funder. You want to keep true to your vision. And so a way to keep control of your vision is to make sure it's a big part of your brand, make sure everybody understands your vision, um, and so that there's no question. Because see, when people really don't know your vision and it's weak and it's not emphasized, people kind of forget and they'll draw your business off of the original vision that you had. And the next one, we all know this guy, and he says, understand the power of your brand is the next mindset. When George Lucas, the first series of Star Wars movies was released in the late 70s and the early 80s, most people saw only a pop culture phenomenon. The string of successful films created a whole new market for science fiction and fantasy. But the creator and filmmaker saw so much more. To him, the first trilogy of films and the three additional movies that followed became a powerful brand. That brand became a springboard to a lucrative licensing deals from everything from toys to video games to memorabilia and live attractions. In 2012, Lucas sold Lucasfilm in the Star Wars franchise that went with it to Disney for $4.05 billion. It is important to build your brand. Um, and once you build your brand and it's a good brand, and it may, come to the point that somebody offers you to buy it. And for 4.05 billion, I would have sold it too. And then to a good company like Disney, who really wants to keep up with the brand, because that's what they were paying for, the brand that Lucas built with Star Wars. Okay. So next, our next three entrepreneurs advise us. First, we have focus your energy on what's good for your business. So next we have Jay-Z, from the best-selling albums to a nightclub to a clothing line, a sports franchise, and more. Jay-Z is known for not just for his music, but for also for his business acumen. His success is based in part on his focus. It includes a refusal to spend his time on anything that does not expand his entrepreneurial ventures. Um, in an interview with um, Forbes magazine, and the writer Greenberg, um, this focus caused Jay Z to decline involvement in a book Greenberg was writing about him. So instead, Jay Z decided to put out his own book and profit directly from his own story and image. While some might consider this outlook short sighted, the question remains, how often have we allowed someone else to drag our focus and energy away from our business? And what has it cost us? So, I just want to take a pause here,
Hmm.
because these four entrepreneurs had something. They had something, and then and with Jay-Z, I agree about focus your energy on what's good for your business. For him, somebody else writing about a book about them and profiting on that book was not in the best interest of what?
Hmm.
His business.
Hmm.
And so he had the capability to put out his own book. Now, it may not have been as wildly successful as Greenberg might have projected or portrayed to him, but still, it was his story.
Hmm.
And so he wanted it told in the manner in which he wanted to do. So he only concentrates on things that are good for his business. He's not going to get you're not going to get sidetracked by something that is not for your business. I have people who come to me with ideas all the time, y'all, all the time. They come to me, like I had a call today from this group here in New Orleans who wants to develop a old Catholic school and rectory into some housing apartment units. Well, one of the things that I had to be very clear about was, okay, yes, I am a proponent of affordable housing, but at the same time, that is not my focus. And it's not the focus of either one of my consulting business. Is not the focus of my for-profit business. I mean, the nonprofit as well. And so basically, I limit the time that I give to people where it's not focusing on something or not giving energy to something that I'm doing. I don't let people boggle my mind with a whole lot of stuff. And so, and I'm talking about in business now. Don't go telling your husband or your wife, look, I ain't got time to focus on focus on you. I really don't go do that. But
Mhm.
we're talking about in business terms. Don't get caught up into what's going on. Like for example, people who get caught up into gossip or into the lazy grade. Even I have friends who call me, Cheryl, you saw this happen on the news. What you think about that? Well, I don't think anything about it because I'm not wasting my thought process on it. Because
Mhm.
one, it doesn't affect what I'm doing. Two, it's not going to add anything to me.
Mhm.
Three, I'm just not going to spend time on those thoughts of things I can't control. For like this presidential administration,
Mhm.
I have a girlfriend who falls asleep with CNN on it. CNN. She's watching that stuff all night long, playing during her sleep. I was like, how can you do this? And I said, I could not take it. But one of the things, and they were like, I said, look, I like to watch what's going on in our government, but I take one day,
Mhm.
an hour out the week to catch up on all the news for the week.
Mhm.
I cannot have that popping up, looking at this every day, every time a little thing happen. And y'all know on CNN, they'll take a 5-minute segment and stretch it to 6 hours.
That's right. They'll keep the same information.
It's the same information running over and over again. So
Mhm.
those are a way to keep your mind clear. I tell people like when I do go to get a chance to go to the movie theater, I'm going to see a comedy.
That's
I'm
right.
I'm not going to see nothing serious. I deal with the woes of people's life all week long
Mhm.
or all the time, solving issues, solving problems. So I want something that I can relax, something that's joyful. I don't want to see sadness. I don't want to hear about, how many people got killed or,
Yeah.
whatever. It's good for me to briefly know what's going on, but I'm not going to spend any good energy or good time into it. So a lot of times that it aggravates my colleagues and friends because they'll start those conversations and guess what? I've moved on to I'm like, okay, that's enough of that. Let's go. Let's talk about something of substance that we can, really act upon and help somebody with. So focus your energy on what's good for your business. Always maintain quality control. From the age of 14, this baker, and I'm not going to try to butcher his name. I'm gonna just call him Lionel. He began his apprenticeship in his family bakery until his death in 2002. He was obsessed, and that obsession was with the quality of the bread that bore his family name. He became world famous for artisan crafted bread baked in wood fire ovens. As international demand for his bread grew, he still refused to mass produce his product. Instead, he insisted that each loaf still be handcrafted by a baker personally trained in his techniques. Even as he experimented with more modern techniques and expanded his bakery operations, um, he maintained his interest in quality control in his business never wavered. That is so important. How many of it, and I'm going to tell you, this happens a lot with food. Okay. I
Mhm.
used to love Sara Lee pound cakes, right? I
Mhm.
used to make strawberry shortcake with Sara Lee pound cakes.
Mhm.
But as I tried to move to a more healthy lifestyle, I had to leave Sara Lee alone, right?
Mhm.
So I stopped, but when I went back to get a Sara Lee, it was like, this is not Sara Lee. The recipe has changed. This is horrible. Okay. Um, Same thing with Baskin and Robbins. Y'all have Baskin and Robbins? Of that
Yes.
31 flavors. Baskin and Robbins used to have the best ice cream. I love World Class Chocolate. That's my favorite brand. I got some World Class Chocolate the other day because I really don't get that much anymore. But that was a treat. It was powdery. The chocolate was powdery. It didn't have that rich fudgy. Um, so what happens, you have to, as you start thinking about your business expanding, decides what are the non-negotiables for you. That, quality is non-negotiable. I
Mhm.
have had restaurants who have started, they started as local restaurants, now they're major chains, right?
Mhm.
But guess what? The quality is so poor. Food rubbery with, it's just horrible. So it's important to always maintain the quality and control of your business. Like, for example, here I was working with a business owner. She actually has a for-profit business. She does mental health services to Medicaid recipients. And so basically, there's a lack of businesses that are doing the work that she does, that has the credentialing, that has the accreditation. And so they are more needed. And so she was thinking about, she said, Cheryl, I really want to expand, but I am concerned about the quality. If I expand, then I want to make sure that the quality of service, she said, so that's why I haven't expanded into other areas, even though um, the business is booming.
Mhm.
There's definitely an additional need. So basically, what I helped her what was an organizational and staffing structure that could help her maintain quality control of the quality of services delivered, which was putting in management layers in her business. Because obviously she can't be across the whole state or in two states. Um, but focusing, training people she trusts in her quality maintenance methodology, and having those managers supervising. So I helped her do develop that. So that's important. And then number 9, our entrepreneur here is set your product apart. What makes you different? The desire to create a project that stands alone is nothing new. Way back in 1783, the Primrose brothers, George and William, promised to produce crystal as fine as any in Europe, and the Waterford brand was born. Y'all remember, y'all know about Waterford crystals, right? Everybody wants them. Who's into crystal?
I've never heard of this for water for crystals.
Waterford crystal, yes. They're very expensive these days.
Mm.
Because I can see the company is no longer in business. The brothers' secret technique of combining glass and minerals to produce crystal that actually sings when tapped with the finger became renowned. The
Mhm.
crystal is also known for the deep and ornate carvings created by skilled artisans that give it a distinctive appearance. So beloved and valued was the Waterford brand that even when the factory closed in the 1850s due to economic hardship, the unrivaled quality of Waterford crystal was never forgotten. Waterford crystal, if you can find it costs a pretty penny.
Mm.
So most of the wealthy have it. Um, if they can get hold of it, Um, and so in really is really investment and expensive.
Mhm.
So you want to set what you do apart. You want people to remember your business name above anything else. You want to be known for what you have designed, your values and your vision and your products and your services. It is important um, for you to set your product apart. So that's number 9. And then we have one more successful entrepreneur, and what their advice is to us. Yes, my girl. The mindset of a successful entrepreneur, um, and what she tells us is take ownership. Oprah Winfrey had experienced plenty of success as a broadcaster and even in the entertainment industry before ever launching the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1986. After some initial radio and TV jobs, she would host a successful chat show in Baltimore and later a show in Chicago that beat Phil Donahue in local ratings. She would even star in a movie, The Color Purple, with Whoopi Goldberg, directed by Steven Spielberg. But it wasn't until after taking ownership of her syndicated talk show from ABC that Winfrey's entrepreneurial skills began coming into focus. Her production company would eventually produce other TV and film projects. Winfrey's entrepreneurial mindset eventually led her to launch a magazine and even her own TV network. And so that's the example. Even if you start off um, connected to someone else or connected to a larger entity, in this way, you want to make sure you have ownership and take ownership of your own work and your own business, your own intellectual property, and making sure that others are not taking ownership of it, as well as and really just paying you royalties. A lot of people think, okay, I got royalties. No, you should be owning the whole pie. If it's your intellect, if it's your skill, if it's your creative force, unless you sold it, and they've paid for it rightfully. So let's take a minute to
Mhm.
talk about what resonated with you the most? One thing each. Everybody tell me, Miss Carolyn Collins, Miss Melvina. Out of all of this advice that these successful entrepreneurs have to give us, what resonated? What was the one thing that resonated with you?
I would say give without expecting anything in return.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people find value in that, and that
Mhm.
you provide, that value for them. And like you said, nobody will offer value to you unless, you offer something first, which is
Mm.
why.
Exactly. Giving and receiving is important.
Mhm.
We know what we call people who receive all the time, right?
Yeah.
What do we call them? Takers.
Yes.
You do not. Let me tell you something. I remember when I was working for the federal government after the Hurricane Katrina in the long term recovery phase, they asked me to come on to help rally the nonprofits in
Mhm.
the recovery efforts. And I had a co-worker, and she was from Seattle, Washington.
Mhm.
Now, anybody knows working in the government office, most of the times you don't have your own office. You may have a cubicle, right?
Mhm.
Connected to others, but you still have your own little private space. Well, Cheryl liked to have snacks,
Mhm.
right? In case during work I get hungry, I could go pop a bag of popcorn, whatever. So I always kept snacks.
Mhm.
Well, this young lady from Seattle liked snacks,
Mhm.
but never had snacks. Okay. She never had anything to offer. She always, when she would hear anything around, like, oh, Cheryl, what you got here? Can I have some? It was a taker, but she never had anything to offer.
Mm.
Another a young man who used to work for me early on when I started the nonprofit. We had two little offices, and so we were, three of us, we were together, and so I noticed all the time he was asking somebody, "Can I get 50 cents? Do you have 50 cents I could borrow?"
Yeah.
In the office, right? And
Mhm.
later on, I found out that that was his way. He was like, I could give people give me 50 cents, and then I can go to the vending machine and spend other people's money. They'll give you 50 cents.
Mm.
That's the taker
Mhm.
attitude. So thanks, Colin, for recognizing that. Have something to give.
Mhm.
Don't always look to receive or without receiving anything back.
That's right.
Um, I'll go next. Mine's was keep control of your vision.
Uh,
I feel like that one really is important in the anchor because as your business progresses and may gain more popularity, you still need to be able to have that focus of what you're trying to do because everybody will want to give a helping hand or pitch a new idea,
hmm
and you got to make sure you don't go completely off what you initially set on.
Exactly. That is not distracting from the vision. Thanks, Melvina. Carolyn, what's your one
Mine
to
goes along
say?
with that one as well as the one with Jay-Z and the other one where you're just being in control of not just the business, but every aspect of it, telling
Mhm.
your own story, and then being in control of the product that you're putting out.
Mhm. Be in control of the business, spending, don't let people take your cloud, your energy with
Hmm.
stuff
And
that's not good for your business, as well as, making sure you maintain
corrupt your product.
quality and control. hmm Very important, very important. Like, for example, my organization here, my nonprofit, Hope Center, as well as my um, for profit business. Now, when people see or hear my name, of course, they automatically think Hope Center. They call me Miss Hope Center. Okay. And so that's why when I actually do my succession from here, I have to be very careful because I don't want people to stop supporting the organization because I'm no longer, you see what I'm saying, at the CEO level.
Mhm.
I'm still here, y'all, but y'all expect me to work forever? you know, I gotta retire sometime. And so you want that kind of reaction. When people hear Hope Center, they was like integrity. They have lasted the test of time. They know when they send clients here that they're going to be service in excellence. Um, and so we have that brand built. We have that success, and because of that, we gain other opportunities. Like, for example, I tell people all the time, I very rarely look for other business or other opportunities for the nonprofit as well as for the consulting firm,
Mhm.
because it always comes, to us, to me, because of the fact of the brand that's out there. Like, for example, a major contract that my consulting firm was able to get with the state of Louisiana Office of Juvenile Justice. We're working to train their alternative school staff in how to engage the community, do community and employer engagement for the success of young men returning back to the community and from secure care facilities. Well, guess what? I didn't have to go looking out for that. They didn't even advertise it. They sole sourced it to my company because of our successful track record, our ability to get results. So it'll get to that point in your business where you want to be known. This is the place to go to. This is the product to buy. This is the brand. Out of all the people who are doing this business, um, you're the one. Your product, your service is the one. Okay. And so everybody went, yeah, Miss Carolyn Collins. And so, y'all, we have about 10 minutes. So let's talk about homework. Yay. Now, the good part about this is not that I want you to work so hard over your spring break. Well, I'll take that back. Yes, I want you to work hard over your spring break. Okay.
Oh.
Um, um, one of the things about me, in my staff around you, the ones who have come up with me and watched me build a business, my own business, and helping others build their own business. One thing that they could tell you, I sleep and breathe. See, when I get that, and I call it anointing for something, I'm like a pit bull. I'm not gonna let it go. I'm thinking about it in the morning. I'm thinking about it in the afternoon. I'm thinking about it at night. I'm dreaming about it at night. Um and it's the thing that excites me and get my, you know, wheels to turning, those cogs to moving. So this is what I would like to you to do. Research at least 3 organizations that do what you do in your local area or the area in which you want to start your business. And now when I say area, I mean geographical area. So you want to research at least 3 organizations. Now, if you say they don't have any that are doing what I'm doing, that could be possible. Find something as closely related as possible. Then also research at least 3 organizations or businesses that do what you do outside of your local geographical area. Because sometimes it may be somebody on the West Coast that's doing something similar. It's a simple Google search. And what information you want to document is what concepts are similar and what concepts are different, how much funding or revenue that area is generating in the sector. You can Google all of this information and sift through different articles. When you talk about how much funding or revenue that is that your specific area is generating for what you do, you may have to dig a little bit, but this is a part of your research. This is going to be a part of your plan at the end of the session that we're going to present. Because one of the things, what's the viableness that this will work in the market, and how much are people spending on this service. So, like for when I think about your area, Melvina, with the holistic approach, that
Uh-huh.
it has become a $1 billion business. I can name 3 companies that talk about this, right off the top of my head. So, the holistic area. I don't know if you're familiar with Deepak Chopra.
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's another thing you want to look him up. Deepak Chopra is DeePakChora. That's one of the sites to go to. and I'm
Okay.
be surprised. You'll be surprised what he has out there.
Okay.
Okay. Um, what makes your ideas stand out and what's different? So you want to look. How do you know what stands out and different? You have to know what others are doing. You can't just say, I know my ideas are different because I know my ideas are different. You have to, quantify it and qualify it. And so, Carolyn, I would, for you, I would tell you to start with recreational, seeking up recreational um, programs, and then venture into, how you have the laser tags and you have the
No, not
no,
in my area.
no, 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 no. I'm just saying. I know you
Okay.
don't. That's why I'm speaking to you because I know you don't have that in your area. So you're gonna have to go outside. Is what's gonna happen. To see what you want to bring as the way of safe play spaces, um, healthy playtime. And so, don't be afraid to look at other things like the trampoline parks and, looking at those businesses as well. Okay.
Okay.
And Colin,
Yeah.
um, for you, I think you have a pretty good idea what you're going to look at
Hmm.
because, you participate in the mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Um, so so what I would suggest to you is also look at um trying to find some that are geared that have the health emphasis
Hmm. Yes.
to it
Hmm.
and not just the martial arts.
Okay.
Okay,
The
because hmm,
I'm sorry. The questions at the bottom, are they in reference to like the three local organizations and the three outside?
both.
Okay, got it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Both. Okay,
Hmm.
so you will probably get this PowerPoint in the morning
Okay.
because I really want to send y'all the recording.
Hmm.
And so after we finish, I have to let the computer do the recording
Okay.
because when I stop it, it's like I can't get back to it to do it. So, I want to but you will have the PowerPoints email because y'all got the one from last week, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that, yeah, you got the one from last week. So I'm going to give you this. I'm also going to try to send out the recording this time. So, are there any questions about your homework assignment? Is it anything
Hmm.
that you want to give me an idea. How do you think the class is going?
I think it's going good. I'm learning a lot of new concepts, ideas, ways to approach, because when I came into this, no, I didn't have a business idea. It was a class I wanted to take to learn some things. So I was surprised when Mr. B said, come in with a business idea. And I didn't come in with one, but I came in with my passion. I know what that is. And
Hmm.
so like I've been kind of developing, the business, just, going through the class. So, putting, making something concrete, started out as just a thought,
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's going good.
Well, that's great. I'm gonna try to not wear y'all out so much. I know we have a lot of information to cover in a short amount of time, and hopefully by having 2 weeks of time that y'all will have that vision, the vision, mission, and values refined,
Okay.
your history refined, and then also your market information. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. And what I'm gonna ask is if you can create your own PowerPoint, and we're gonna look at all three pieces.
Okay. PowerPoint of the homework?
Yes,
Okay. Got it.
each homework assignment.
Okay.
Someone please check on Nina.
Mhm.
Make sure she's okay. I did reach out to her. I haven't gotten a response back. Um, so I'm concerned, you know,
Mhm.
about her. We're concerned, that she's okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but I'll still email, the recording, send her the recording so she doesn't miss
Okay.
what we covered tonight. So everybody is when it's 6:59 my time, 7:59 your time.
Mhm.
7:59. I think we did a great job of keeping on track and getting to the finish line. And so even though I say see you next week, you'll hear from me throughout that time, but I'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay.
Okay.
And the
Right.
next session, wait, your next session will be, no, y'all won't, Mr. Bourgeois is going to be in class with you. I want to check the schedule, y'all. Because I don't want to tell y'all we'll be on Zoom and y'all supposed to be.
I think we're supposed to be actually in class.
Yeah, y'all in class because y'all having a visitor.
Oh,
So
nice.
y'all have class the week, the Wednesday after spring break. Okay. So, I would have tapped in to kind of just say hi, but because we're not going to be on Zoom, and you're actually going to be, in the class.
Okay.
Um, and I'll see y'all. And guess what? I will see you all in person on April 3rd.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I'll actually be there on April 3rd. Feel free to reach out to me if you need to. You could reach out to me and to remind me if you have some questions, if you get stuck, and I'll be happy to set up some time
Okay.
so that we can talk. Okay.
Cheryl, I
Okay.
remember you said we were going to have the calls, the one-on-one talks.
Yes.
After spring break, will we plan to do?
Yes. It's
Okay.
after spring break.
Right.
It's gonna be after the structure when we go over the incorporating and the your legal structure
Mhm.
class. Then
Okay.
you'll have. See, the reason why I put the one-on-one sessions after that
Mhm.
is to give you enough time to work on different components. So when we have our time, it's really about your individual business. Undivided time, and we can kind of mash and mull through stuff and get the plan the way it needs to be, where it needs to be. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Well, have a great evening. Have a great rest of the week. Have a wonderful spring break. Um, I don't know if anybody's going on vacation for spring break, but if so, have, a good vacation for spring break. I never did. When I was in college, spring
Mhm.
break wasn't a big deal. I didn't go nowhere. You
Really?
know, these kids these days,
This is
spring
my
break,
vacation.
It's
it's
not a
like
big deal now to me, but yeah.
they go.
Yeah.
All right. So have a good night.
Yeah. You all have a
All
good one.
right.
Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Night.